has this one been a long time coming. You have no idea how long I wanted to do this one. You have no idea how many people had so much anticipation for what I had to say for the next superhero movie. I could just imagine every single person online thinking to themselves, what's Luke Nukem gonna say about this superhero movie that's like 1 out of 6 superhero movies coming this year? What's he gonna say about the most astronomically hyped superhero film that come out this year that is Black Panther? And believe me, this film is filled with incredible amounts of hype. I mean, not only does it has like the highest Rotten Tomatoes score of a superhero film, but it was being declared the first superhero movie to have an all-out cast that was all African American. And Black Panther itself is being directed at the helms of Ryan Coogler. And Ryan Coogler has been known for making Fruitvale Station and one of the best films of 2015, Creed. And you have a whole lot of actors in the movie like Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan reprising in another Ryan Coogler movie, Lupita Nyong'o, Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out, Winston Duke, Sterling K. Brown, Forrest Whitaker, Denai Guerrera, and not to mention that this movie, when it came out, broke in almost every single box office record. I'm talking about biggest opening, biggest weekend. So I know what you're thinking. What does Luke Nukem probably think about this movie? Is it a superhero masterpiece like everyone is saying it is? Well, in order to establish what I personally think about Black Panther, let's talk about the movie. So in this movie, it takes place on the ginormous secretive location known as Themyscira, Wakanda. And Wakanda is known for its very secretive, isolated location along with its amounts of advanced technology, all because of a mystical-like substance known as vibranium. And vibranium is used to make advancements in technology, advancements in weaponry. It can heal some of your wounds, it can give you a certain amount of powers like the Black Panther has. In this movie, it takes place after the events of Captain America's Civil War, where in the last movie, after a certain bombing attack, Prince T'Challa, who's played by Chadwick Boseman, his father died of the bombing attack, and so T'Challa is gonna take his father's place as the king of Wakanda. And not only does T'Challa have to face certain responsibilities in his kingship, like making certain allies in the world, remaining as an isolated but peaceful society, and not only does he have to deal with enemies known as Claw, played by Caesar. I know Claw is Andy Serkis, but still, he will always be named Caesar in my eyes. But he also has to protect his country against evil, sadistic, but sympathizing villains. One of them being an evil, murderous smuggler by the name of Eric Killmonger, played magnificently by Michael B. Jordan. So it's up to T'Challa to make sure that Wakanda is safe from these evil threats while also trying to avoid a possible world war. So what do I personally think of Black Panther? My reaction? It's good. It's good. In all honesty, that's pretty much what I have to say about Black Panther. Is it 97% good? It's good. Am I saying it just to lie because I actually hate the movie? It's good. But in all seriousness, without beating around the bush, those are my honest-to-God opinions about Black Panther. It's good. It's not great. It's good. Is it a masterpiece like everyone's saying it is? No, but I still enjoy it. Does this movie have its flaws? Yes, it has its flaws. But I'll basically go over them after I explain something that I really did like about the movie. First and foremost, the performances in the film. Ryan Coogler does a very excellent job with actors. I mean, you have seen it in most of his movies like Creed, Fruitvale Station. He's very good at telling people, this is how you should perform. This is what your character is like. And he is very good at bringing it into actors like Forrest Whitaker, Andy Serkis, Sterling K. Brown, Winston Duke, Martin Freeman, Letitia Wright, Daniel Kaluuya, who was also recently in one of the best films of the year, Get Out, Denai Guerrera from The Walking Dead, and Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o. Those actors do a terrific job in their performances, and they do give some likable characters. However, those aren't the ones that replace these two standouts of the entire movie. One of them being Chadwick Boseman. While not being the most interesting superhero out there, Chadwick Boseman gives T'Challa so much dimension to him because he is not only one of the most collected, calm, and cool superheroes, but he is one of the most intelligent. Even though he is tackling certain situations, he is still trying to take responsibilities of maintaining the right to the throne. There's so much subtlety, there's so much collectiveness and coolness that you are really drawn to his character and what his motivations are. However, the absolute standout of the entire film, what makes this film so much interesting than it has any right to be, is because of the villain, Eric Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan freaking nails it as Eric Killmonger. Most of this movie is entirely important because of him. In my opinion, Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, is the single greatest Marvel villain since Loki. The reason why he's so good is that when he shows up, you can feel his presence on screen, and it automatically makes this movie entirely more interesting than it has any right to be. And even though he is ruthlessly killing innocent people, you can still understand his motivation and how he might actually be right about something. We've all had tons of villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where they're just bad to be bad, and those are the weaker kind of villains. The good kind of villains are where they explore and exploit the weaknesses of the characters, and Eric Killmonger does exactly that. Speaking of Wakanda, what I also love is the production design. It's way more colorful and vibrant than you see in most Marvel superhero movies, that it basically follows the likes of like Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, where the environments of the city and the landscape is so gorgeous and beautiful. And not to mention that some aspects of the cinematography, even the visual style, are very stunning at that. And there were some pieces of score in this movie that actually kind of gave me chills in my spine. And of course, I'm not talking about the Kendrick Lamar soundtrack. I'm of course talking about the orchestral soundtrack of the film itself. It's very good. And also, I'm not saying I don't like Kendrick Lamar's soundtrack. I heard a bits of it, it's good. I'm just usually not the kind of guy who's into rap, I'm sorry. Except if it's NWA. Alright, now is time for me to go into the flaws of Black Panther. To be in all honesty, after I got out of the film, I spent about a few days just thinking about, just wondering what that little thing is that kind of bugged me throughout the film. I was trying to figure out what it is that was so bothering me this whole time, and I think I got it. First off, I'll state a few of the obvious. While some of the visual style and the production design is actually very great, yeah, some of the visual effects, not so much. In fact, some of the effects in this movie, they don't look bad, but they look unfinished. So, yeah, basically bad. There's a scene where T'Challa is standing in front of people who are on top of a cliff, and it really looks like that some characters were kind of posted in, like, you know, just copy and pasted on top of each rock top. And there are some people that may be doing the exact same motion as the other person, and there's also very noticeable green screen in the background. And also I want to add, while some of the fight scenes are actually good, some of them are kind of underwhelming, especially the final fight. The entire problem with that entire fight scene is that it's filmed entirely, almost, in CG. There was actually a moment that has basically been mentioned by almost every reviewer under the sun, that there was a scene that reminded them of Spider-Man 3. When Peter Parker and Venom are falling down on top of a building, and they're also just fighting each other on top of midair, while it looks completely cartoonish and a bit unrealistic, with Black Panther, it felt exactly like that. Some of it looks completely unfinished, and while Killmonger and Black Panther are fighting each other, it looks completely like a video game. Also, some of the jokes hit, some of them really don't. I mean, there was even a joke that was a shout out to a very popular Vine. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of the most annoying Vines out there. And it was one of the few jokes that, honestly, I rolled my eyes at repeatedly. But the biggest problem I have with this movie is that, aside from Eric Killmonger showing up in this film, there was no emotional investment I had with the film. That was the biggest problem more than anything. Because towards the beginning of the film, it becomes a bit uninteresting because it starts off being your basic run-of-the-mill superhero movie. It's only when Eric Killmonger finally shows up and like almost an hour into the movie that the film becomes a completely different film. And I was thinking to myself, when Eric Killmonger shows up, I was like, man, this might actually be good as Logan, the first Avengers, and Captain America's Civil War. Because in the movie, it basically talks about and focuses on the city of Wakanda. And it discusses some of the political side of things, like, should Wakanda avoid being a secret, isolated society? Should it avoid using the concept of isolationism and share the resources with other countries? And some of those political aspects that this film does have really do work. But then after that, it just turns like into a big extended 20-minute long action sequence. And I'm not saying that the film's final act ruined all sorts of tension. It just became like a 15 or 20-minute long action sequence. And it does really tie itself into a bow. This is just one of the things that really bothered me throughout the film. Is Black Panther a good movie? Yeah, it's good. Is it a revolutionary masterpiece that's gonna change the face of cinema? No, I don't think so. But just as a superhero movie, it's very entertaining enough. While I thought some of the action scenes, while kinda overlong, were a bit okay, some of the CGI was very noticeable, and I personally thought that at first the story was kinda generic. Some of the performances are great, the direction is good, the production design is stellar, some of the score is very good, and I would have to say that while the beginning of the story was kinda very mediocre and underwhelming, but when Eric Killmonger finally shows up for about a second time, because he shows up for like one scene, and then he's gone for about like 45 minutes. And when he finally shows up, the film becomes more interesting than it has any right to be. People may love this movie, and I guarantee some of you do. I really appreciate the bold steps it's taking, but for me, it wasn't really anything special, but I still appreciate the movie nonetheless. So I'm going to give Black Panther a 3.5 out of 5. Alright guys, that was my review of Black Panther. Comment below, let me know what you thought about the movie. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And also, if you want to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem, and you, my friends, have been blown away.